Greetings, my name is Cody, and today I'll be presenting on risk management, including risk calculations, asset valuation, and how the organization justifies its security budget. Risk management is one of the most important areas in cybersecurity because it helps organizations make informed decisions about what to protect and how much to spend and which risks are acceptable. Once risks are identified, organizations must decide on how to respond to them. This typically is done using a cost-benefit analysis, where the cost of implementing a control is compared to the expected loss if the risk occurs. There are four primary risk response strategies. One is to mitigate, which means to reduce the risk using controls. Two is to accept, acknowledge the risk without taking any action. Three is transfer, which means shift the risk, often through insurance or outsourcing. And the final one is avoid, eliminate the activity causing the risk overall. These decisions are usually approved by senior management because they directly impact business operations and financial outcomes. Important concept here is that risk management is not just technical, it is also about building a risk-aware culture where employees understand and consider risk in their daily activities. Risk management is ultimately a leadership responsibility. Senior management defines the scope of the risk management program, the organization's risk tolerance, or how much risk it is willing to accept. It is important to understand that risk can never be completely eliminated. It can only be reduced. Organizations must balance security with business operations, which leads to decisions based on what is prudent versus what is reasonable. A prudent action may provide maximum security, while a reasonable action considers cost, practicality, and business impact. This balance is critical in enterprise environments where resources are limited. Risk management has two different types of analysis. The first is qualitative risk. This analysis focuses on description and evaluation rather than numerical values. It uses methods such as brainstorming sessions, interviews with experts, and scenario-based situations to determine its data. Instead of calculating exact numbers, risks are ranked as high, medium, and low, or other similar parameters. This approach is especially useful for intangible risks such as reputational damage or loss of consumer trust, which are very difficult to quantify. While qualitative analysis is less precise, it is faster and easier to perform, making it useful in the early stages of risk assessment. The other type of risk that risk management looks at is quantitative risk. This analysis uses numerical values and financial metrics to measure risk. It provides a more objective and data-driven approach, allowing organizations to estimate potential financial losses. Key metrics include SLE, single loss expectancy. This is the amount of money you expect to lose if a bad event like a cyber attack, fire, or data breach occurs. If it happens just once, it's basically the cost of a single hit. Then there's ARO, annualized rate of occurrence. This is how many times you think that bad event will happen in a typical year. For example, 0.5 means once every 2 years, and times 2 means twice a year. Then there's ALE, annualized loss expectancy. It's the total money you can expect to lose from that risk over a single year. You calculate it by multiplying the SLE times the ARO. So if one incident costs $100,000 and it happens about 0.2 times per year, your ALE is $20,000 per year. This type of analysis is particularly useful for justifying security investments because it translates risk into financial terms that business leaders understand. There are many risk calculation metrics in quantitative risk analysis. The first of which is the SLE, or single loss expectancy. This represents the financial loss from a single event. It is calculated by multiplying the asset value, which is the total value of the asset, by the exposure factor, which is the percentage of loss if the event occurs. For example, if an asset is worth $100,000 and a breach would cause 40% damage to the organization, the SLE would be $40,000. The next one is the ALA, or annualized loss expectancy. This estimates the expected yearly loss, and it is calculated by multiplying the SLE by the ARO, or the annualized rate of occurrence. It's how often the event is expected to occur per year. For example, If the SLE is $40,000 and the event happens once every 2 years, the ALE would be $20,000. These calculations allow organizations to make data-driven decisions about risk and security investments. Security controls must be selected based on cost effectiveness. Organizations compare the cost of implementing a control with the reduction in expected loss. If a control costs more than the risk it reduces, it may not be justified. After implementing controls, organizations evaluate residual risk, which is the remaining risk after mitigation. The goal is to not eliminate all risk, but to reduce it to an acceptable level. This ensures that security investments are both effective and financially responsible. One of the biggest challenges in cybersecurity is justifying the budget. Security professionals must present risk in business terms, not just technical language. This includes asset values, expected financial loss, and the cost of controls. For example, instead of saying we need better security, you would say this control reduces the expected annual loss by $50,000 at a cost of $10,000. This approach allows executives to make informed decisions based on risk reduction and return on investment. Framing security decisions in terms of risk acceptance and financial impact is the key to gaining leadership support. And that concludes this presentation. Thank you so very much for watching.